Hello and welcome to Wheels on Reels episode 3. Today we've got Iron Man 3. No surprises here, similar to Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2, quite a few Audis on this list. Think back to the time, it was 2013, again, kind of in the EV transition space, so a couple EVs on the list as well. And with that, we'll dive right in. At the number 8 slot, I have Tony's red Audi e-tron. This shows up for one scene at the end of the movie, and it's actually the second generation body style R8, which is kind of the first time you get a glimpse of what that might look like. Pretty cool concept car, and in the scene it's actually used towing a robot, which I thought was kind of funny, but just not necessarily my style, kind of bland. Not a big fan of red cars in general, so this one goes bottom of the list. Hate to say it, but it gets a spot on the list nonetheless. In the number 7 slot, we've got the 67 Mustang that Tony works on in the barn when he kind of gets flown into the middle of nowhere when his Iron Man suit runs out of juice and then ends up in the kid's garage. Finds it just kind of tucked back in there and works on it a little bit. Doesn't get that much screen time, but cool car. Muscle cars are something special, something to be said for them, just not necessarily my cup of tea. So this one goes number 7 on the list. At number 6, we've got the Audi A8 that Tony kind of escapes wherever he gets flown to in. He drives it back to LA to kind of reintroduce himself to the world after doing some tinkering and some thinking and self-reflection while he's kind of isolated after his house gets blown up. But he flies back in an Audi A8 across the bridge, and there's some pretty cool cinematic shots of it. Nice luxury sedan, just not something that I'm as interested in as the other cars on this list, giving it the number 6 slot. In the number 5 slot, we've got Pepper's silver Audi S7. I'm a sucker for silver cars, always have been. Nice to see this one here and a bit more sporty than the A8, which is why it gets one notch higher on the list. Still a sedan, still kind of a big body car without that great of driving dynamics compared to what's above it on the list. So it comes in at the number 5 slot. At number 4, we have the second Audi R8 e-tron that's featured in this film. This one is the first generation body style that Tony kind of escapes the press conference with. Only this one is more like an e-tron GT type spec where it looks more like a race car. It's got hood pins and a nice hood scoop. Looks like a fun little car. I'm sure, caged and lightened, it would be a pretty fun car to rip around a track. I know it's an EV, but still something to be said for a dedicated race car version of a street car. So cool to see that in the film. Cool to see not just your standard base R8 anymore. So gets the number 4 spot on this list, something that could be fun to drive and has its place in history as that shift to electrification was sort of happening around this time. At number 3, as you might have guessed, I'm a huge Porsche nut. I would love to get one someday, and there is one sneaky Porsche in this movie. It's a 996 that's kind of outside the castle scene. Gets about 2 seconds of screen time, but it is in the film nonetheless. I got to give a shout out to whoever decided that the 996 would be the best Porsche to put in this film, even though it's a 2013 movie. Hats off to that guy for giving some love to the fried egg headlights. At number 2, got to give a shout out to Google for helping me with this one, is the RCR Superlight Nemesis, which is a sort of clone to the Ariel Atom, but done by Race Car Replicas. They're also the same company that builds the SLC, the Superlight Coupe, which I've seen a couple of in my time. I'll flash some photos up of the 2 that I've seen, but doesn't get much screen time. Cool little toy to have in Tony's garage. I think they were just trying to fill out the garage with some unique cars, and so threw this one in there. I think it'd be a blast to drive, similar to an Ariel Atom, like I mentioned earlier, and just an all-around cool toy. And again, this one would definitely win you Cars and Coffee, hands down. And taking the number 1 spot for Iron Man 3 is none other than Tony Stark's world speed record Bugatti Veyron Supersport. So the world speed record cars had the carbon and orange bodywork. Just a beautiful spec. I've seen one myself, and it's a hell of a car to look at. Not much to say about a Veyron that hasn't already been said, and odds are if you found this video, you already know all these things, but it was the first car to eclipse $1 million in MSRP. The Supersports had 1,200 horsepower out of the 16.4 liter W16 quad turbo engine. Just an absolutely ludicrous car. I can't believe that VW engineers were given the green light to go out and build this, but I'm so glad that they did. And really, this car kicked off kind of the era that we're in now, where you have Koenigsegg, you have Pagani, you have Rimac, you have the Ferrari LaFerrari, the Porsche 918, the McLaren P1. I mean, all these cars followed in the Veyron's footsteps. I mean, the car really was a pioneer of this next level hypercar. Prior to this, there were supercars and the McLaren F1, and the Veyron really introduced the era of the hypercar. So hats off to the Veyron. Again, no real surprise that this takes the number 1 slot on the list, but all in all, pretty solid collection of cars in the movie. I'll run through them again one more time. At the number 8 slot, we have the second gen Audi R8 e-tron. At number 7, we have the 67 Mustang that Tony sees in the garage. At number 6, we have the A8 that Tony makes his escape with. At number 5, we have Pepper's S7. At number 4, we have the first gen Audi R8 e-tron GT. At number 3, we have the 996 Porsche 911. At number 2, we have the RCR Superlight Nemesis. And your winner, the number 1 car from this movie, of course, is the Bugatti Veyron Supersport. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate all the support thus far. Tune in next week when we jump to a different franchise. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers.